They said it was just a misunderstanding. But when I came home from college and my car that I bought with my own money, was gone, I knew the truth would be darker. My parents had sold it. Lied to my face. Claimed they had no idea what happened. But I found the receipts. The cash hidden in my father's drawer. The text message from a buyer confirming the deal. I asked for the truth. They gaslit me instead. So I filed a police report. I had the title in my name. The VIN number. The paperwork. They laughed at first. Then the cops showed up. This is the story of how I destroyed the illusion of a perfect family and made them face the consequences of treating me like I was disposable. It was supposed to be a quick trip home, 2 days, tops. I had a biology final on Monday, and I only came back because my mom guilt-tripped me into attending some half-hearted family dinner. I remember the text, "You're never around anymore. We miss you. Just one dinner, okay?" I should have known. The sun was setting behind me as I turned onto our street, the same way I had for years. The familiar rows of cookie-cutter houses, the trimmed hedges, the mailboxes that had stood untouched since middle school. Everything looked exactly the same, until it didn't. My heart dropped before I even pulled into the driveway. It was empty. No silver 2013 Honda Civic. No subtle gleam of my custom rims catching the dusk light. No parking dent I always complained about from my dad's clumsy turns. Just a wide, vacant stretch of pavement where my independence used to sit. I slammed the gear into park and rushed out, adrenaline pumping. Maybe they moved it. Maybe it's in the garage. Maybe, no. I knew. The garage was open. My dad's rusted pickup sat in its usual oil-stained spot. My mom's SUV was next to it. My Civic? Nowhere. I stood there, still wearing my college hoodie and backpack, the smell of engine grease and cut grass hanging in the air. My hands started to shake. My phone was already in my hand. I called my mom. She answered on the second ring, her voice saccharine. "Hi honey. Almost home?" "I'm standing in the driveway. Where the hell is my car?" There was a pause. "Too long." "What do you mean?" "I mean my car is gone. The Civic. It's not here." "Oh." Her tone shifted, light but slippery. "Your father and I thought maybe we could clean up the driveway. You know how cluttered it's been looking." "Cluttered?" I laughed, but it wasn't funny. "It's a driveway, not a damn showroom. Where is my car?" She exhaled. "Sweetie, don't overreact. We didn't think you'd mind." My brain couldn't keep up. Didn't mind what? "We sold it." Silence. A full 10 seconds. Maybe more. I don't remember breathing. "You what?" "It was just sitting there most of the year," she said quickly, too quickly. "And we thought maybe you'd grown out of it. You'll graduate soon, get a real job, get something nicer. We figured you could use the money." "You thought I could use the money?" I snapped. "You sold my car, and I didn't get a damn dime. Where is the money?" Another pause. Then came the lie. "It wasn't about money. We gave it away to someone in need." I hung up. That night, I didn't eat dinner. I barely slept. I turned the house upside down. My old bedroom had been converted into a yoga room. The closet where I kept all my car documents, title, registration, maintenance log, was empty. But I knew my dad. He never threw anything away. It took until 3 a.m., but I found it. Bottom drawer in his home office. A manila folder labeled Civic, sold. Inside, the title transfer, signed by me, forged. A bill of sale. $6,000 in cash. And a text printed out between him and a buyer confirming a meetup time at a Walmart parking lot. I couldn't even cry. My own parents had stolen from me. And they thought I wouldn't do anything about it. The next morning, I made a pot of coffee and sat at the kitchen table like it was a regular Sunday. My mom came down first, all smiles, until she saw the folder. "You went through our things?" I didn't answer. My dad joined us a minute later, yawning, scratching his chest like he had nothing to hide. "I'm reporting it stolen," I said calmly, sliding the folder across the table. "I have the original title in my name. I didn't sign anything. You committed fraud." "You wouldn't do that to your own parents," he said, but his voice faltered. "I already did. Police report's been filed. Officer Thompson will be here at 9 a.m. to take your statement." The blood drained from my mother's face. I sipped my coffee. "You chose this," I said. "Not me." The knock came at exactly 9:07 a.m. It wasn't aggressive, just firm. My dad was still in his robe, but he had changed into something resembling concerned father mode, khaki slacks, tucked in polo, hair combed back like he was going to Sunday brunch instead of potentially being charged with grand theft auto. My mom was pacing. She'd already tried crying, twice, before the officer even arrived. First at me, begging me to understand, then at my dad, screaming at him for not being more careful. As if the problem wasn't what they did, it was that they got caught. I opened the door before they could compose themselves. Officer Thompson was younger than I expected. Late 20s, maybe. His badge read Thompson, D, and he carried himself like someone who had seen too much for his age. He gave me a polite nod before stepping inside. "You the one who filed the report?" he asked. I nodded. "Yes. Daniel Thomas. VIN number and title are in the folder." He glanced toward my parents, who stood near the kitchen island like guilty children. My dad tried to offer his hand. "I'm Greg. This is my wife, Sandra. I think there's been some misunderstanding." "Yeah, I get that a lot," Thompson said flatly, ignoring the handshake. "Let's sit down." We gathered at the dining room table like it was Thanksgiving dinner, except instead of mashed potatoes, we had evidence. I laid everything out: original title in my name, bill of sale with a forged signature, screenshots of my text to my parents before and after the sale, and the $6,000 cash that I'd put in a Ziploc bag for safekeeping. "Where'd you find the cash?" Thompson asked, eyes on me. "Dad's drawer. Bottom cabinet in the office." My father didn't deny it. He just exhaled slowly, rubbing his temples like he was the one being wronged. "Mr. Thomas," Thompson turned to him, "did you sign your son's name on this title transfer?"
I might have," he admitted.
"But it's not like we stole it. It's our house. Our driveway." "Doesn't matter," Thompson cut him off. "The car was registered solely to your son. That makes it his property under the law, regardless of where it was parked." "But we supported him," my mom cut in. "We paid for his college. That car was just sitting there." "I paid for that car myself," I snapped. "Summer job. Every paycheck." My mom's face twisted. "We were going to use the money for your future. For emergencies." "Funny," I said. "Because I looked at your bank statements. You booked a cruise." That shut her up. Thompson leaned back in his chair. "Here's how this works. I've got enough here to initiate a formal investigation. At minimum, we're talking forgery and misappropriation of property. Possibly felony theft depending on the resale amount and state statutes." "You'd really press charges against your own parents?" my dad asked, finally looking me in the eye. I met his gaze. "You made that choice for me." Thompson stood. "I'll file the initial report. You might be contacted by a detective. I recommend not contacting your son directly during this time." "But we live together," my mom said, voice cracking. Thompson looked at me. "You got somewhere else to stay?" "Yeah," I said. "Dorms open early for finals. I'll be out today." He nodded, handed me his card, and left. The silence after the door closed was deafening. My dad sank into his chair. My mom finally sat down, her face pale. "You could ruin us," she whispered. "No," I said. "You ruined this. I'm just making sure it gets recorded." I packed everything in silence. Clothes, laptop, toothbrush. I didn't even bother with most of my old things: yearbooks, high school trophies, family photo albums. They didn't mean anything anymore. As I zipped my duffel bag, my mom stood in the hallway, watching. "You know, if you'd just talked to us first." "You wouldn't have listened," I said, shouldering the bag. "You haven't in years." She didn't follow me to the door. Neither did he. As I pulled away in my friend's borrowed Corolla, I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I didn't feel anything. Not yet. But the revenge wasn't just about justice anymore. It was about reclaiming everything they thought they owned, including me. If you've never had to prove your own reality, let me tell you, there's no pain quite like being forced to document your betrayal. It's humiliating. Exhausting. Every time I held up a receipt or cross-checked a timestamp, it was like reliving the theft all over again. But I did it. Because if there's one thing about liars, especially ones who think they're smarter than you, they always leave a trail. The first week back on campus was a blur. My finals were a mess. I bombed my biology exam and barely scraped through stats. But every free second I had, I was digging. Pulling bank statements, requesting phone records, even logging into our old family cloud account where my dad stupidly backed up every damn screenshot he ever took. There it was. A full resolution image of the sale paperwork, dated a week before it even come home. Labeled, Civic_buyer_June 25. And the buyer? That was the best part. He was someone I knew. Bryce Martin. A guy from my high school, 2 grades above me. Used to be the golden boy of our football team until he blew out his knee senior year. I hadn't seen him in years, but I remembered him well. He was the type who always bragged about scoring deals and buying low. Apparently, my car was one of those scores. I found his Facebook profile. Public, of course. That idiot had even posted a picture, new ride. Scored big, clean, low mileage, and cheap as hell. Shout out to Greg Thomas for the hookup. My father's name. In black and white. I screenshotted everything. The post. The comments. The tag location. He'd even geotagged the Walmart parking lot. Like he was proud of it. So I did what any rational person would do. I messaged him. Me, hey Bryce. Nice car. Bryce, haha, thanks dude. Civic's a beast. Me, you bought it from Greg Thomas? Bryce, yeah. That your dad? Cool guy. Me, yeah. Cool guy. Just so you know, that car was mine. Title was in my name. Bryce, wait WTF. Me, yeah. He forged my signature. You bought stolen property. Bryce, bro. I didn't know. Me, you posted about it. Bryce, I'll take it down. Me, don't. Leave it up. I've already got screenshots. Police might contact you soon. He left me on read. I wasn't bluffing, either. That same night, I forwarded everything to Officer Thompson. He responded within an hour, this is exactly what we need. Thanks. That's when the house of cards really started to fall. I got a call the next morning from Detective Kara Mendez. She sounded more skeptical than Officer Thompson at first, probably used to overblown family disputes, but after I laid it all out, she went quiet for a long moment. You're telling me your parents forged a legal document and sold your vehicle while you were away at school? She asked. Correct. And you have the original title, in your name? Yes. And you were not informed or reimbursed? Not a dime. All right, she said finally. Let's open a case. Things moved fast after that. First, Bryce was interviewed. He confirmed everything. He even admitted that the price felt too good to be true, but he didn't ask questions because he knew my dad from around town. He gave the car up voluntarily. Then, Detective Mendez called my parents. That same day, I got a furious voicemail from my mom. You unbelievable little snake, she spat. How dare you involve the police? Do you know what you're doing to this family? Your father could lose his job over this. Is that what you want? For us to be humiliated? I saved the voicemail. My dad texted me 3 times, let's talk. We can fix this. We didn't mean harm. The hypocrisy was suffocating. They sold my car. Lied about it. Hid the money. Faked my signature. And now I was the villain? No. They wanted to play games? Fine. I'd play. I dug deeper. I pulled every document I'd ever given them for safekeeping. Tax forms. Social security paperwork. Financial aid. And guess what? They'd used my information on their taxes to claim extra credits. I wasn't even listed as an independent student with FAFSA. They'd stolen my car and hijacked my financial identity. That's when it stopped being about revenge. It became war. I contacted the IRS. I reported the fraud. If they thought a car was all they'd lose, they hadn't seen anything yet. The call to 911 was surgical. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I gave them the facts, calmly, like I was reporting a noise complaint and not detonating my family's carefully curated facade. Yes, I said. I'm reporting a theft. Forgery. Identity misuse. Possibly tax fraud. The dispatcher didn't know what to make of it at first. She asked if I felt safe. If there was an immediate threat. No, I said. But they need to be held accountable. It took 2 hours before I got the follow-up call from Detective Mendez. She sounded sharper this time. Focused. We reviewed your IRS referral. You weren't exaggerating. I don't do that, I replied. She sighed. This is going to escalate, Daniel. You sure you're ready for that? I was ready the second they made me the enemy. The court summons came 3 weeks later. They were being charged with felony theft, forgery, and tax fraud pending further investigation. It wasn't an arrest, yet, but it was enough. Enough to be publicly searchable. Enough to be humiliating. I didn't go to the house. I didn't call. I didn't respond to the flood of messages that came in once it hit the local paper. Well-known couple under investigation for fraudulent sale of son's car. The best part? It got shared. Someone from town posted the article in our neighborhood's Facebook group. The comments were brutal. Aren't they the couple always bragging about their son going to college? Oof. That's messed up. Parents like that don't deserve kids. I didn't comment. I didn't need to. The truth had a life of its own now. Then came the family fallout. My aunt called me first. She was always the one who looked at my parents sideways, like she knew something was off but never had the proof. I just want to say, she said, I'm proud of you. I can't imagine how hard this is. I didn't realize I'd been holding my breath until I let it out. Thanks. They've been lying to all of us for years. Always pretending they were doing everything for you. Turns out they were just using you. That word hit me hard. Using. Yeah. That's what it was. I wasn't their son, I was a resource. A tool. Something they could manipulate when convenient and discard when I started pushing back. I got other calls, too. Old family friends. Even my former high school principal messaged me, I don't know all the details, but I believe you. I believed me too. For the first time in a long time. Then came the voicemail from my dad. His voice was tight. Not angry, afraid. Daniel, please. Let's talk. I'm begging you. Your mother's not doing well. She's not eating. I could lose my license at work. They're saying I might be disbarred. This is spiraling. Disbarred? I didn't even know he could be disbarred. He wasn't a lawyer, he worked in real estate, but apparently, part of his job required professional licensure and a clean criminal record. Oops. I texted back 2 words, you started this. No response. But the next day, I got a call from Detective Mendez. They want to talk, she said. Mediation. Not legal settlement, but a sit-down. Neutral ground. I'll be there. You interested? I hesitated. This wasn't about closure. It was about strategy. Yes, I said. But I'm not going to forgive them. I want that on record. She didn't argue. We met in a glass-walled room at the local community center. Neutral, cold, clinical. They looked older. Not just tired, smaller. My mom didn't wear makeup. Her hair was up in a messy bun. My dad had stubble, and his shirt was wrinkled. They sat across from me like ghosts of themselves. Detective Mendez opened the session. Ground rules. No shouting. No threats. Just truth. My mom spoke first. I don't know when you stopped trusting us, she said, voice trembling. When you started lying to me, I replied. We didn't mean to hurt you. Stop. My voice cut the air like a blade. You sold my car. You forged my signature. You stole my identity for taxes. You used my information to line your pockets, and now you want sympathy? Tears welled in her eyes. My dad reached for her hand, but I wasn't done. You raised me to believe family came first. That we stick together. But the first chance you got, you sold me out for $6,000 and a cruise to Cozumel. It wasn't about the cruise, he started. No, I said. It was about control. You didn't like that I had something that belonged to me. So you took it. Silence. Thick. Tense. Mendez shifted in her seat. This meeting isn't for legal resolution, she reminded us. It's about acknowledgement. Understanding. Is there anything else you want to say, Daniel? I looked at them both. I used to think I needed your approval, I said. That being your son meant I had to forgive whatever came with that. But I don't. Not anymore. Then I stood. This conversation is over. I got the call on a Wednesday afternoon, just after my last exam. I was walking across campus, the weight of finals finally lifting, when my phone buzzed. Detective Mendez. Daniel, she said without preamble. They've issued the warrants. I stopped walking. For both? Yes. Forgery and fraud for your father. Theft and tax misuse for your mother. We're executing them today. There was a strange silence in my head. Like everything around me, the students laughing, the spring breeze, the distant hum of a lawnmower, had muted. How will it happen? We're doing it quietly, she said. At their house. They'll be processed and released unless a judge deems otherwise, but they'll be booked, fingerprinted, and their records flagged. I nodded, even though she couldn't see me. "Thank you," I said. "You're not a bad person for wanting this, Daniel." I didn't answer that. Because the truth was, I didn't want it. I needed it. They were arrested at 4:42 p.m. It didn't make the news. No mugshots online. Just a line on the public county arrest log: Gregory Thomas, forgery, fraudulent signature. Sandra Thomas, theft of property, filing false documents. By 7 p.m., my phone blew up again. "Mom, how could you do this to us?" "Dad, this is beyond repair, Daniel. I hope you understand what you've done." "Uncle Mark, call me. I don't care what they did. They're still your parents." "Old neighbor, are you okay? I saw the reports. Just checking in." But the one message that hit me the hardest came from a number I didn't recognize. "Bryce. Hey man. I heard they got arrested. I just wanted to say. You did the right thing. I never said this before, but I've always respected you. Even in high school. If you ever need anything, ride, recommendation, whatever, I got you." I stared at that message for a long time. A week later, I got a letter. Not an email. Not a text. A real letter. Handwritten. It was from my mom. "Daniel. They told me to apologize. The lawyer. The therapist. Everyone. But I'm not going to lie. I don't know how. I don't know how to undo what we did. I thought we were helping. I thought we were saving money for your future, but I see now we were stealing your present. I keep thinking about your face when you found out. The silence. That calm anger. I've never seen you look more like a stranger. You were always so smart. So independent. And I think we hated that, because it meant we weren't needed anymore. That doesn't excuse what we did. But I want you to know, I remember every time you tried to earn our trust. Every time we ignored it. I don't expect forgiveness, but I want you to know, for whatever it's worth, I regret it every single day. Mom. It didn't move me like she hoped. I folded it neatly and slid it into the bottom drawer of my desk. Not out of sentiment, but as a record. Another piece of evidence in the case of why I walked away. Because here's the thing about apologies, they don't undo the damage. Especially when they come only after the consequences. Their plea deal was offered a month later. No jail time, but community service, probation, and a massive fine. My dad lost his license. My mom's name was flagged on every financial document she'd ever touched. Their credit was toast. Their reputations? Gone. But me? I got the Civic back. It was returned to the impound lot, a little scratched but otherwise intact. When I sat behind the wheel again, I gripped the steering wheel like I was touching a piece of myself I'd almost lost. I started it. The engine purred like it had been waiting. I took it for a long drive that night, windows down, music loud, the stars overhead spinning slowly past. Every mile I put between me and that house felt like another stitch closing up the wound. And I wasn't done yet. Because revenge isn't just about payback. It's about healing. On my terms, you never really understand what a person meant to you until you stop needing their approval. I used to crave it, like oxygen. Every A on a test, every award, every milestone, I'd look at my parents, waiting. Hoping. For a nod. A smile. Something that said, "You matter to us." But now? Their silence was louder than any praise they'd ever given me. The community service started immediately. My dad was assigned to clean public parks. Trash pickup. Lawn maintenance. The kind of work he used to mock whenever we passed a crew in safety vests. My mom got placed at the community thrift store, sorting donated clothes, lifting boxes in the back, helping customers who'd probably seen her face in the arrest log. They weren't celebrities, but in a small town like ours, everyone knew. I didn't watch in person, but I heard. People sent me photos. Gossip made its way into my inbox. My aunt told me someone spotted my dad pulling weeds in the median while two teenagers giggled and took selfies behind him. Karma has a petty sense of humor. Meanwhile, I was rebuilding. Not just my car, though I did give the Civic a full tune-up, new paint job, even custom seat covers, but myself. I got a campus job. Paid internship. Refiled my FAFSA as an independent student. For the first time, all the aid was mine. My tax return? Mine. My future? Mine. I even started therapy. That was new. At first, I didn't know what to say. I told the counselor I wasn't traumatized exactly, just frustrated. He smiled like he'd heard it all before. "What do you think betrayal does to someone?" he asked. I didn't have an answer. But I started showing up every week. Sometimes we talked about the car. Other times about growing up. About how praise in my house was always conditional. How love was a tool, not a feeling. How I was never really seen, just expected to perform. He helped me realize something brutal. My parents never hated me. They just never saw me as separate from them. When I started making choices they couldn't control, I became inconvenient. And inconvenient things? They get discarded. Then came graduation. No parents in the crowd. No flowers. No proud photos. Just me, in a borrowed cap and gown, walking across a stage while strangers clapped. And yet, I was more at peace than I'd ever been. My friends were there. My advisor shook my hand with real pride. My internship supervisor offered me a full-time job right after the ceremony. The first thing I did? I bought myself a new laptop. Not on a credit card. Not a gift. Paid in full. My money. My choice. Later that night, as I sat alone in my apartment, the Civic Park downstairs, diploma leaning against the wall, I got an email. Subject line, "Just one more chance. Please." It was from my dad. I stared at it for a while. Didn't open it. Instead, I clicked mark as read. Then archive. That's when I realized. Forgiveness isn't about letting them off the hook. It's about not letting them hook into you anymore. The courthouse smelled like lemon cleaner and sweat. It was one of those old buildings with flickering lights and tile floors that hadn't been updated since the 80s. Nothing about it felt like justice. It felt like bureaucracy, cold, slow, and indifferent. But that day, it was mine. I sat near the front, alone. No lawyer, just me. I wasn't technically required to be there, but Detective Mendez had told me the hearing was public. She said if I wanted to speak, I'd have a chance. So I came. Because I needed them to see my face when the truth was laid bare. They entered 10 minutes after I did. My mom was in a beige pantsuit 2 sizes too big. My dad wore a suit I recognized from my high school graduation, wrinkled at the collar, missing a button. They didn't look at me. They didn't even glance my way. Cowards. Their lawyer was a local, Michael Kelly. Sleazy reputation. He once defended a guy who got caught stealing catalytic converters off church vans. Perfect match. The judge was a stern woman named Ellison. Sharp eyes. No patience for theatrics. She called the session to order with a bang of the gavel. Case 5079A, People vs. Gregory and Sandra Thomas. Kelly stood, launched into a speech about good people who made a mistake and misguided intentions. He said things like they were only trying to protect their son's future and they've already suffered enough with the public fallout. I almost laughed out loud. Then Judge Ellison turned to me. "Mr. Thomas. You're listed as the victim. Would you like to make a statement?" I stood. My knees felt weak, but my spine stayed straight. "Yes, Your Honor." I stepped forward. Everyone turned. The room went quiet. I looked at them, my parents. And I spoke. I was raised to believe that family meant trust. That no matter what, we had each other's backs. That we were a team. But that was a lie. When I went to college, I left my car at home. It was mine. Paid for by me. Maintained by me. Titled in my name. But while I was gone, they sold it, without my permission. They forged my signature. Hid the money. Lied to my face. When I asked for the truth, they gaslit me. Called me dramatic. Ungrateful. Said I was overreacting. But the part that hurt most wasn't the car. It was realizing they never saw me as a person. Just an asset. Since filing the report, I've been called selfish. Cold. Unforgiving. But I'm not here for revenge. I'm here for justice. They made a choice. And choices have consequences. I turned back to the judge. I'm not asking for prison time. I'm asking for accountability. And I sat down. No one clapped. No one spoke, but I could feel it, every word hanging in the air like a weight neither of them could escape from. The sentencing wasn't dramatic. No cuffs, no outbursts. Just a gavel, some murmured legal jargon, and a final decision. 12 months probation for both. 200 hours community service. $9,000 in restitution, paid directly to me. Mandatory financial ethics course. It wasn't everything. But it was something. And more than that, it was public. Their crimes were documented. Their shame no longer whispered behind closed doors, but listed in ink, online, searchable. Real. Outside the courthouse, my mom tried to approach me. She looked wrecked. Thin. Eyes sunken. Like someone halfway through a long illness. "Daniel," she said. Her voice cracked. "Please." I didn't respond. My dad didn't even try. He just stood there, hands in his pockets, eyes on the pavement. As I walked away, I heard her voice one last time. "We were just trying to keep you close." I didn't turn back. Because keeping me close meant keeping me small. And I wasn't small anymore. It started with a letter. Another one. But this time, it wasn't from my mom. It was from the bank. Apparently, when they ran a final audit on my parents' financial records for the restitution order, something odd came up. A savings account. Opened in my name. When I called to ask for details, the woman on the other end paused. "We can't give you access yet. The account is frozen due to a fraud flag." "Fraud by who?" I asked. She hesitated again. "It was opened when you were 16. With a cosigner, Gregory Thomas." I hadn't opened any account at 16. I hung up, heart pounding. And then I called Detective Mendez. 3 days later, she sent me the report. My parents had opened 2 accounts under my name. One in high school. One the summer before college. Both were used to funnel tax returns, student aid, even credit card debt I had no idea existed. Over $15,000. Maxed out cards. Cash advances. Luxury purchases at stores I'd never even stepped foot in. A jewelry store. A spa. A damn golf resort. It wasn't just theft. It was identity abuse. Mendez sounded tired when we spoke again. "You want to press charges again?" I didn't answer immediately. Because this wasn't just about betrayal anymore. This was systematic. Strategic. It was like they had planned for years to make me dependent on them while bleeding me dry behind the scenes. Like they never saw my future as my own, but theirs to manipulate. I could barely breathe. I met with a financial fraud attorney 2 days later. Free consultation. He was calm, blunt. "They committed federal crimes," he said. "Bank fraud. Identity theft. Wire fraud. You have every right to press charges. But it'll drag out. Might take years." I nodded. "And you won't get peace from prosecution," he added. "Not the kind you want." He was right. I wasn't looking for vengeance anymore. I was looking for closure. So I did something radical. I filed for a restraining order. I changed my social security number. Froze all credit reporting. Filed affidavits with every agency they ever touched in my name. Then I sent them both a letter, 1 sentence each. To Greg Thomas. "You've lost access to every part of my life you thought you owned." To Sandra Thomas. "You taught me love was conditional. I've unlearned that." And then I walked away. But secrets don't stay buried for long in small towns. Once the second investigation opened, this time through a federal inquiry, the rest of the family cracked. My aunt called again. This time, her voice was hollow. "I didn't know about the bank stuff," she said. "But I always wondered where your college fund went." "College fund? What fund?" I asked. She sighed. "Your grandparents left you a trust. $25,000. It was supposed to be yours when you turned 18. My stomach dropped. That money never made it to me. I hadn't seen a dime. And just like that, the final piece fell into place. They'd stolen my childhood. My future. My identity. And now, the trust meant for me. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just felt clean. Like the last knot had finally been cut. I updated my name. Not a full change. Just the middle name. I made it mine. Legally. Permanently. Because my legacy would never be tied to theirs again. The fireworks started before sunset. Not metaphorically, actual fireworks. It was July 4th, and the city was buzzing with celebration. Families with folding chairs and coolers lined the riverbanks. Kids with glow sticks ran through the grass. Patriotic music blared from nearby speakers. And me? I was on the road. The Civic hummed beneath me, windows down, bags in the back, a full tank, and a lease agreement signed for a new apartment 4 cities away. I wasn't running away. I was starting over. The past year had cracked me open. The betrayal, the legal battles, the exposure of everything my parents had hidden, it all left me raw. But in that rawness, I found something sharper than pain. Clarity. They had built their lives around the illusion of control. Of perfect parenting. Of sacrifice and selflessness. But behind that curtain was theft. Emotional manipulation. Systemic exploitation. I wasn't their child, I was a storyline. Something to parade when it was convenient, and discard when it wasn't. But they didn't own the next chapter. I did. My new apartment was modest. 1 bedroom. Thin walls. Faint smell of paint still lingering in the air. But it was mine. Every piece of furniture, every light bulb, every chipped tile. I moved in alone. And for the first time in my life, that didn't feel lonely. It felt powerful. Later that night, I stood on the balcony. Below, fireworks exploded across the sky in bursts of red, white, and blue. The city cheered. Car alarms blared in the distance. The night air smelled like burnt gunpowder and fried food. I thought about all the things they'd taken from me, the car, the trust fund, the credit, the dignity. But as each firework lit up the sky, I made a silent list of everything they hadn't. My voice. My will. My resilience. My name. My story. Because that's the thing about independence, it doesn't come from breaking away. It comes from choosing never to return. 2 days later, I got an envelope in the mail. No return address. Just a plain white envelope with my name, handwritten. Inside, a cashier's check. $25,000. No note. No apology. Just the money that had been mine all along. I laughed. Because it was too late for amends. This wasn't a gesture of love, it was an attempt to silence. But they didn't realize. I wasn't interested in being quiet anymore. I donated half to a local scholarship fund, for first-generation college students with no family support. The rest? I used to start a business. A consulting company for identity theft victims. People like me. People who had no idea how deep betrayal could go until it was too late. Within 6 months, I had clients. Within a year, I had testimonials. I wasn't just healing, I was helping others do the same. That summer, I returned to my college town for a speaking engagement. Financial ethics panel. They introduced me as a resilience advocate. It felt weird. Heavy. Honest. Afterward, someone from the crowd came up. Mid-40s. Nervous energy. She looked like she wanted to say something important but didn't know how to start. My son's going through something similar, she said. We always thought we were doing what was best. But now I'm starting to wonder if we ever actually listened to him. I didn't judge her. I just nodded. Start now, I said. And don't lie. Not even to protect yourself. Just tell him the truth. It was raining the day I went back. Not pouring. Just that slow, steady drizzle that makes everything look gray and tired. The sky hung low. The trees sagged under the weight of water. And my Civic, now fitted with new tires, fresh paint, and the faint scent of cinnamon air freshener, rolled down the street I once called home. I wasn't there to reconcile. I wasn't there to forgive. I was there to close the loop. The house looked smaller. I pulled up slowly, watching the garage door as if it might spring open and unleash all the lies I'd buried. But nothing happened. No faces in the windows. No movement behind the curtains. The yard was overgrown. That made me smile. My childhood home, once obsessively maintained, polished, and curated to perfection, now looked forgotten. Like the people inside had stopped pretending. I parked. Got out. No one came to the door. Good. I walked to the mailbox. Opened it. Inside, junk mail, a real estate flyer, and a letter addressed to me. Daniel Thomas. No forwarding address listed. I opened it there on the curb. Daniel. We won't fight anymore. We know we lost you. And maybe we deserved that. We didn't understand the damage we were doing until it was too late. But if you ever decide to come back, not for us, but for closure, just know that the door is open. Love. Mom and Dad. I folded it and tucked it back into the box. I didn't need it. I took one last look at the house. The window I used to climb out of when I was 16. The spot in the driveway where my car sat before they sold it. The porch swing I used to lie on when I was too angry to talk. They weren't mine anymore. Just ghosts. I turned back toward the Civic. Slid into the driver's seat. Gripped the wheel. And for the first time in years, I felt weightless. Not because everything had been fixed. It hadn't. But because I had made it out. I had told the truth. Taken back what was mine. Built something new from the rubble. As I drove away, I didn't look in the rearview mirror. Not once. Because the last drive wasn't about returning. It was about leaving, and never needing to go back.